Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time, and that whenever and wherever you are, when you hear this recording, that you are aware of the bizarre time anomalies that have been happening. I mean, really take note of it and talk to other people and ask them, how has their perception of time changed recently, or has it? And how did time used to flow versus now? Or how did it flow, when you're a kid, last year, last week, yesterday versus today? I have noticed that time is so strange. And I know we had a couple weeks ago, we did talk about this, or at least one of my guests talked about how time is so very elastic and it's amenable to what you are doing in the moment. If you really need more time, it seems to somehow stretch out, and if you are bored, it kind of collapses a little bit. And sometimes it seems opposite, though, to me, and I don't know that we're yet able to control how time stretches or expands, contracts, or whatever. I don't feel like we can yet control the time anomalies, but I have noticed that today I got up for about 20 or 30 minutes. I talked to somebody about kind of a mundane task, not that much, not that big of a deal, but I only talked for like maybe half hour tops. Maybe an hour total, actually, for the whole day. Maybe only 1 hour on Facebook Messenger. And I drank my coffee, and while I was drinking my coffee, I watched 2 episodes of The Order. That would make 89 minutes, I don't know, like basically an hour and a half. So that's what, two and a half hours. And I wrote 12 letters. I wrote 12 emails, and they were, 4 of them were kind of cut and paste. They were easy. People that want me to advertise stuff on the show, and I had already written out how to do that, so I just cut, paste. This is how you advertise on the show to become a sponsor. So I took care of that, and then I wrote, really, like, the rest were just really short letters. It doesn't seem like that was in an hour, even. So I really can only account for my time for like 3.5 hours. But we'll say maybe I spoke with my son for an hour. That'd be 4.5 hours. I did dishes, which took maybe 20 minutes tops. So 5 hours. Which means I have 6 hours of missing time today. I mean, I've been awake for 13 hours. And I have like 6 hours of missing time, and I didn't have any time where I'm just sitting around daydreaming. I didn't watch a whole lot of TV. I mean, like 90 minutes tops, and that was, and it was weird. It's like I literally can't even account for the rest of my time. And was I abducted? No. Higher guidance says no. It's like, how? And I feel like I've been just like kind of swimming underwater. Have you guys ever had that feeling where you just feel like you're, no matter what the hell you do, you're going extremely slow and time is going really fast, and it feels like, it's like you're trying to jog at the bottom of the ocean. I always felt like that's the best metaphor for it. Like, yeah, I'm trying to get stuff done, and I could barely move because of all the weight of the water around me, pushing me back, holding me back from like actually walking at a decent pace. You know, that kind of a feeling, even though I've been moving normal, I'm not going slow like a turtle or something. The time has been bizarre today. I'm missing 6 hours. I'm looking at this. I sat down to start the show like 2 hours ago, and it only felt like maybe 20 minutes passed, but yet 2 hours are gone. Actually, it was like 9:30 I sat down, so it's 11:49. And what did I do in that time? I did a little bit of research for maybe 30 minutes, you know? So I have like 5 to 6 hours of time that just nothing was going on during those hours, and yet I was busy all day. I mean, I feel like I worked 12 hours today. And yet, I don't know, it's so insane. Like, I can't really... And also I was surrounded by a great deal of confusion, even though I was able to concentrate on the tasks at hand, and I wasn't confused about what I was writing in the emails. I mean, unless I was, maybe I should go back and read them tomorrow. I'm not high, I'm not drunk, you know, I've been stone cold sober all day long. I mean, for weeks, months, you know. Okay, over the weekend I got high, but during the week, I don't do that anymore. I don't know if you guys recall, it was about a year ago, somebody slipped me a little something. It was oil with weed, cannabinoid oil, mixed in with my hot chocolate, thinking that we were going to share it, and I kind of drank the whole thing, not knowing, and he stood here going, oh no. I'm like, what? And he's like, you're going to get really high. And I just sat for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours on the couch because I couldn't remember how to stand up. And I was high for 5 whole days. 5 days. Almost 6 days. It was like 5.5 days. I was just flying. And I don't know if you guys remember that week, but I know I was speaking really slow. I mean, it was like ridiculous. Like totally like, oh my God. Like somebody called me and we were supposed to go, my son and I were supposed to go to this, to the dentist, and I could barely get 2 words out. I answered the phone and I was like trying not to laugh, and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not gonna make it today. And she's like, why not? And I'm like, I'm not gonna make it today. I can explain to her, right? And then like a month later, when we finally did go to the dentist, she gave me like the stink eye for the whole frickin' time I was there. I was like, ugh. I don't care if this is a gentle dentist or not, I'm not coming back. But so I mean, I'm not high, you can tell. I mean, if you go back to that week and you compare that week to this week, then yeah, definitely it's different. I'm normal, right? I feel like I'm talking normal. I don't think I'm having a stroke. I don't smell anything weird. I mean, but just, I'm missing like 6 hours of time. Wasn't abducted. I had a lot of pain last night. I was in an incredible amount of pain. I kept icing my back and neck, and it would take out like 10 or 20% of the pain. And then it was just, it wasn't a whole lot. And it was supposed to rain today, and I thought that was going to relieve it. And around 5 o'clock in the morning, I finally laid down, and usually if I lay down and I'm in that much pain, it makes it worse. And all of a sudden, something shifted in the air outside, and my body felt completely relaxed, and I slept like a stone. And this evening, my son said, oh, look at the the weird lights are back. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's like plasma on the other side of the mountain. And I've been seeing it the whole time we're here. It keeps happening. And I'm looking outside. I'm like, well, that's just lightning, honey. There's a storm over there. And I realized that a lot of my pain had been relieved. The barometric pressure had been up, and now it's back to normal. Because the storms are around us. But he was right. There's something really weird, really eerie tonight about this plasma on the other side of the mountain. It's the only way we can describe it. It's like, he was saying it's not like, because normally when there's lightning, it lights up the whole of the sky. And if it's far off in the distance, it'll light up that section from, across the horizon. And this was like lighting up a little strip of the sky, and then it would light up a different strip of the sky, then it would light up like the whole sky, and then it would light up like a round ball part of the sky. Just for a quick second, and then it'd be gone again. It was really weird. We're kind of watching that for like 20-30 minutes, but again, that doesn't really count for all the time we've been missing. I don't know, who knows? Maybe I went and worked for the secret space program for 20 years and came back. They wiped my memory. I'm just kidding. I don't think that happened. Higher guidance says no, that didn't happen. But yeah, it's been really, it's been hard accomplishing anything today, even though I accomplished a lot. See, that's what's so weird. And I feel like I should have accomplished 3 times more than what I did. But the time was just too weird. The time has just been too strange feeling. But I don't know, guys, I don't know. Besides that, though, surrounding the day, my pain, I still had a little bit of pain, but not like, it wasn't crippling pain like it was last night. Of course, I took magnesium. That might have been what helped. I'm going to take more today. I ate a bunch of peanuts, walnuts, almonds, and sesame seeds, because the seeds and the nuts, it's good for your brain. But I was feeling very, I think I already said this, but I was feeling very, very confused today. Like overwhelmed and totally confused outside of the one task I was trying to complete. Normally, I am a serious multitasker. I could have 2 or 3 or 4 conversations with different people all at once, and it's like spinning plates, and I'm good at it. Normally, I'm really sharp and on it and on point. But today I was just energetically confused, like the whole day. It was very weird. Something that did clear it up is I poured a apple scented cleaner, which is kind of a positive smell. It's energetically good scent, and I poured that on the floor. I poured hot water from my coffee pot, which I just heat water in my coffee pot, as I use my French press for coffee. But I keep that on hand always. We always have hot water in there in case we want tea or whatever. But I poured it on my mop along with this cleanser, and I cleaned my kitchen floor, and that cleaned up a lot of my confusion, which was so weird. The floor wasn't particularly dirty. There was just a couple marks or scuffs on the floor. I mean, I cleaned the whole floor in like 5 minutes, probably 3 minutes, because it wasn't even dirty. But there was just a couple in it that, for whatever reason, I'm like, maybe it's those spots that are confusing me. So I did that, and then after that, I was like fine for a while, but I was still a little bit confused. I don't know what, it's like there's an energy of confusion. Let me ask, God, do I have a demon in here? Is it like plasma? Oh, okay. He says the whole of Earth was hit by plasma like a blanket, and it did create the energy of disillusionment, disorientation, and confusion. And you're saying collusion with, it's almost like a collusion with the dark forces in a way that you're going to only believe what the negative people say today, which creates more confusion because yesterday you didn't agree with them. But it's just to fester out any other types of collusion you might have had with the system that you were unaware of, basically. That's a very weird thing. It makes sense, though. Where you just were dead set against anyone who's Republican, and then today you might say, oh, well, that guy's okay. I like what he has to say. Yeah, no, he's not bad. He's just, and you start to make excuses for them, and then maybe an hour later you're like, wait a minute, I don't like that guy at all. He's not at all he's not at all cool. Kosher is what we used to say when I was a kid. He's not kosher at all, right? I mean, we're not even Jewish. My stepmom used to always say that. Well, that's not kosher with me. I don't even know where I don't know if that's like a saying or it was her saying or whatever, but and I think that actually for me, it wasn't the collusion with the bad guys that are around today. I started having thoughts about people that were abusive towards me in the past few years, as well as when I was a kid. And parts of their personalities started to kind of, I felt that those things were endearing. Oh yeah, so-and-so used to say that. Oh, that's kind of a cool, and it's like weird, because I always hated that saying. I always hated that phrase. I always hated that thought or that idea or that, whether it was a turn of the phrase or like, I don't know, it's confusing. It's and remember a couple days ago, even on the Schumann Resonance news, disclosurenews.it, they were really confused. Remember I said, are they drunk? What's going on with that? And I feel like this has been going on, God's telling me about 3.5 days, 3 days and a quarter. So if you've been confused in the past 3.5 days, by the time you hear this, maybe 4 days, it's kind of what's going on. Like my son was playing a song, and he had we all loved Michael Jackson. We always loved his music. And, we always thought that he was more innocent than people were making it out to be. And then my son saw a documentary of the people who had accused him and why they dropped the case. And they did a real documentary on what happened. And my son was like, it turns my stomach to think that maybe he really truly was a pedophile and a molester. Like, if these people are telling the truth, and it felt like they were telling the truth because they can't get anything out of the estate now, it's over. And my son's like, that makes me so sick to my stomach because I always liked Michael Jackson. I'm like, yeah, me too. And then he was playing some song, and in the middle of the song, the Mama Say Mama Sa Mamaku Sa part from a different, from the, I think it's Billie Jean song from Michael Jackson came on, and my son and I were like singing and dancing, like, oh yeah, I love this is cool. And we were singing to the song, and there was like a mashup between that and the parts of Billie Jean, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is from Michael Jackson. And he said, you know what, that just ruined the song for me. I'm like totally sick to my stomach. I can't like anything this person ever did before. And it kind of pulled me out of that, oh yeah, wait, why would I fall into like, yeah, this is my jam, I like the song type of energy, knowing the artist might have been a bad person. And that's what I mean, like, this confusion energy has been to get us to look at someone we know is bad, look at something we know is bad, see something about that thing that suddenly we like, so we could go, oh wait a minute, but that's bad, we don't like it, and then boom, it's like yanking out a splinter. It's like you get a splinter in your finger and you're like, well, that really sucks, I hate that, it hurts, oh my god. And then the more you look at it, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, I like wood. I like trees. I really like the forest. I should probably forgive the tree for stabbing me with one of its little splinters. Oh, and then you realize it's like, you've been thinking about it, and now you're confused. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And then you're like, no, screw it. It hurts, and now it's infected and inflamed, and you could squeeze it and it'll pop right out. And now you got to treat an infection, right? But once you get it out, you treat the infection and it's over. And I kind of feel like that's what's going on with us energetically with all kinds of stuff. I mean, not just governmental stuff, but a lot of people are being like, it's on the verge of a lot of people being fired or let go of, or quitting the Department of Justice. I don't even know what's going on there. I just saw a headline yesterday, and it was just like too much for me to handle. It was just like, I'm like in this confusion, crazy energy. And all day yesterday, the same thing. I was in this massive confusion. You know, like I just couldn't, I mean, to the point where I was like, am I going senile? Did it happen overnight? Like, what the hell? Not exactly loving this energy. And then today I was better. I'm like, oh, so yesterday was just a weird day. And then today in the afternoon was some weirdness. But it's starting to all come out. It's all starting to all go away. Thank you, God. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Are you guys going through this insanity, this confusion, this whole like, you know, like, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff with the sky. There's a lot of, even the sky was so conflictual. Like I couldn't even make it out. Like I was staring at the sky going, I don't even know what the hell's happening right now. Like there's a lot of that day. Like I would look at the sky and it was like peach with blue in it, but then it was blue with peach in it. And I'm not talking the sky and the clouds color, but like the sky itself was confusing today. I'm looking at the sky going, is it blue or is it peach? And I really genuinely couldn't tell. And then an hour later, it was like, was it turquoise or was it brown? What color is the sky? Like that kind of weirdness. Like I'm so confused because I'm looking at something and I can't even tell you what the hell I'm looking at. Why is the sky that color of brown? And it was like the color of mud. And at the same time, it was the color of like a pale turquoise jade kind of color. And then after a while, it didn't even turn blue or dark blue like normally. It just was kind of like a dark gray and then a black. And then boom, now it's normal. Just normal black sky. And even when the clouds way, way off in the distance on the other side of our mountains, when what we were considering lightning or ball lightning or plasma, or maybe there's UFOs landing over there, we didn't even know what was happening. Every time the sky would light up, it would be pale steel gray blue, and then it would be purple, and then it would be frickin' orange. And we're like, what the hell is going on over there? And then it would just be like a white with a pale blue aura around it. And then it just go through the gamut again, all those same colors I just said. And we were like, this is so confusing. It's so confusing. What is that? Like, we're not looking at a sky that's like consistently purple, consistently blue, consistently whatever. And you guys could go to my Instagram. It's at mermaidgirl888. You could go check it out. Some of the clouds, I've gotten pictures of the clouds here looking straight up freaking like grapes. Like purple grapes hanging in the sky, enormous grape. It's crazy. It's so purple. And that's how the sky looks sometimes here. It's rare, but it happens. And so, I don't know. I can't really describe more of it other than I know things are freaking confused. Things are just strange lately. The last day and a half to 2 days, for me anyway. And a couple days ago, and it kind of started with that earthquake. We had a 5.1 earthquake here, and my son was like mopping the kitchen floor. So it was like 3 days ago, you know. So our kitchen floor is still relatively clean. It's clean now because I just cleaned it. But I was sitting on the couch, and he was mopping the floor, and we were talking about I don't even know what now. And all of a sudden, I paused the show I was watching, and we were still like kind of like I was kind of had it on the background, and we were talking, and then I paused it and I ran into the doorway. I'm like, come with me, and he's like, why? And I'm like, I'm feeling this like pretty massive, like it wasn't massive, but it was kind of sizable earthquake. And he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, we're having an earthquake right now. He's like, no, we're not. I'm like, yes, we are. And it was like, that was confusing, you know, those kind of things. It's like, the house is shaking. I'm hearing the cracks. He doesn't feel it. He's standing there right with me. I'm shaking, he's not. It's like, how are we in two different worlds right now? What is going on? And I looked it up. We had a 5.1 earthquake not too far, within a couple hours drive away from here. Most of the tectonic plates that move and shake around are pretty much far enough away from us. It's not going to create major damage. But that was another one of those examples of the confusion. What the hell? It was just I don't know. I mean, I heard the parrots, but I couldn't see them. And then a pigeon I've never seen before flew extremely close to my window, where pigeons are never in my bedroom. Stuff like that. Just weird stuff. I couldn't make out what was going on with the clouds. I kept trying to look at them, and I couldn't concentrate at all on them. I don't know, you guys having that, lack of concentration, lack of ability to deal with pretty much everything around you. And I was having some anxiety, panic, and anger the other day, and it's not, I had a specific reason for that to be happening. It was happening because of something specific, but Why So Serious 24D on that channel on YouTube, Sarah O'Brien was saying that a lot of people have been stuck in all the energies I've been describing, but for weeks or months, where every day is like that, and where all of the numbers, the synchronicity numbers are coming at very odd, askew thing, and you're in a false ascension if that's going on. I didn't watch the rest of the video. I'll talk about tomorrow if I find her information valid and if I remember to bring it up. Because it's so strange, to think that, you're on the ascension path, everything's great, and then whatever's going on with the cabal, suddenly you're now sucked back into a false ascension matrix. So that's why we try to keep on our path with reading the lessons in A Course in Miracles and whatnot. I wanted to tell you guys, just get off that topic for a while. I wanted to tell you guys the 2 words that I wrote down because they were driving me crazy on Monday because I didn't know what they meant. Most of the words in the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, I do know what they mean, or I could reasonably guess what they mean based on the other words in the sentence. But I looked them up for you guys in case you were curious still. Pernicious, and I know you've heard of this before, probably maybe twice in your life. It's not a word that people normally say, but when you do hear it, it's wait, I have heard of pernicious, right? So pernicious means having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual or subtle way. Well, exposure to Donald Trump or radiation. Having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual or subtle way. An example of perniciousness would be the ladies back in the olden days, was that the 16 or 1700s, when they felt like arsenic was going to make their face look beautiful and youthful. So they would take a little bit of arsenic in their tea at night, and it did. It made them beautiful, and their skin was just positively radiant and glowing. And they did that every day until they ended up dying of arsenic poisoning. That would be, because arsenic is pernicious. It's harmful, and it's gradually and subtly harmful until the day just fully, just drops you. I don't know. That's just my example. So hopefully I'm right at that. But okay, the other word is etoliated. And it was really driving me crazy. I've never seen this word in my life, etoliated. E-T-O-L-I-A-T-E-D. So they're saying, especially of a plant, pale, drawn out due to lack of light. So me, when I look in the mirror, I'm etoliated. Okay, sorry. Having lost vigor or substance, and being feeble. Okay, well, that part of the definition is not me for sure, but that's what etoliated means. So those are the two definitions. So having lost its vigor or substance, something that's feeble, or a person, plant, whatever. And when you talk of a plant, it's pale, drawn out, and due to the lack of light. And that's what etoliated means. I thought that was interesting. I've never in my life heard that word, and I don't know. I just had to know what it meant. I play this stupid word blitz game, and half the words I'm guessing might be words, and they are words, and they're things I've never heard of. And then I realized half the time I'm playing in French. my friends over in Algeria and Tunisia, they play in French because they know French more than English. So it's just automatically in French for them. It's automatically in English for me. But when they start the game, I'm playing it. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know any French words. I'm like just adding all of the vowels together. And it's like, boom, here's the 35-point word. It's like, oh, cool. I have no idea what it means. I don't know this word. It just seems like a bunch of gobbledygook to me. Half the stuff I spell, I'm just like, no. But anyway, there you guys go. I want to go to spaceweather.com right now. Again, with the solar wind being hardly anything, 343.5 kilometers per second. It's just slow. There's absolutely no sunspots. The sun is not really doing anything. We're still at the solar minimum. Absolutely no sunspots. It's been 11 days. Oh, and I'm seeing that in my left ear is suddenly ringing. Okay, goes away. So weird. Have you guys ever seen the TV show The Order? I didn't really binge it, but I finished all 10 episodes in the past week and a half, 2 weeks. I just finished it today. But when the werewolves hear, when magic goes on, they get tinnitus, and I'm like, ooh, what if I'm a werewolf and I don't know it and magic is going on around me? I'm just kidding. That's not at all what's happening. But I thought, how funny, because so many people are having tinnitus these days. And what a funny thing to incorporate into your storyline. It makes it a little bit more like, well, that's happening to me. Oh, it's kind of funny. All right. Oulu, Finland are reporting that the neutron counts are very high. And today we had 10 fireballs over the United States. There's more over the whole planet. I know why they don't look at the whole planet, but they don't. The coronal holes on the sun, I mentioned yesterday, solar wind will be flowing. They will probably over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, expect to feel that crazy plasma energy. Sarah O'Brien said that there was a 3 million mile an hour something or other coming at us. I haven't listened to her 30-minute video yet. I will try to have that information for you tomorrow because it sounds pretty gnarly. She was saying it was from the sun, I think. She started to talk about it. I'm like, I just don't have time to listen to it right now. But tomorrow I will, or tonight I will, and talk about tomorrow. But I don't know why it would, or how it'd be anything possibly coming through the sun, unless it's coming through the portal of the sun or in the sun at us. That could be something, deflected from the grand central sun or something. But the sun, our sun itself, it's like literally nothing is happening except for solar winds gently breezing us from the coronal holes. And the solar winds aren't even that, they're not even that fast, 343 kilometers per second. That's not hardly anything. So I don't know. It's weird. They're saying it's minor. There might be an uptick in polar auroras coming up over the weekend. They say that the gaseous material coming from the sun this week is not even expected to cause a geomagnetic storm, at all. Something strange is happening in the North Atlantic. According to spaceweather.com, they say for the past 3 years, airplanes have been flying across the ocean in record time. Credit the jet stream. It's revved up, possibly by climate change, and planes that surf the jet stream are flying faster than ever before. The latest record was just set days ago on February 8th, 2020. British Airways Flight 112 rocketed from New York to London in a mere 4 hours, 56 minutes, and at one point was traveling faster than 825 miles per hour. And this is good news, they say, because airplanes surfing the jet stream absorb significantly less cosmic radiation. So consider that. Follow the jet stream. It's safer. I thought that was really strange. I had to read that to you guys. Okay. Let's see. Schumann Resonance news right now. 8:30 in the morning is when they did their first report. They said, after a break of 12 hours in which we had a calm condition, shortly after midnight UTC time, some movements began which, with isolated peaks, brought the resonance to power 20 Hertz frequency at 3 a.m. UTC time. These small movements were not followed by more variations except for a sudden peak at power 49 at 8 UTC. So there you go. And then at 1700 is the evening report. After the previously reported peak, activity continued slightly until reaching the climate at 14 UTC. The climate, what are they talking about? Maybe, I mean, this is translated from Italian. Maybe it's more like, or less drunk sounding in Italian. I don't know. We reached the climate. Maybe they accidentally meant to write climax, like the end. That doesn't make sense either. Anyway, in Italy, power 49. That's all. You know, let's just leave it at that. Just there in the fifth dimension. And I thought about that. Like, what if I'm on the verge of going into that 7-day stretch where I'm going to go into the fifth? Maybe that's why I'm confused, but I don't think so. And I know that Sarah O'Brien said there's going to be a purple energy. It'll be hanging with us for the next few days. 3, 4, 5 days, I think she said. So, I don't know. But it's a very pale purple, like an amethyst color, so hopefully it'll be a positive energy, hopefully. All right, let's see, we're going to heartmath.org now, and in California at midnight they started off at 38 hertz frequency. By 5 a.m. they were up to 41 hertz frequency. Again, Schumann Resonance scale. I don't know if I said that. All right, 49 hertz frequency was seen in Hofuf, Saudi Arabia at midnight, and by 5 a.m. they were up to 66. Lithuania started off at 81 hertz frequency at midnight, and by 5 a.m. they went to 84. Just little tiny upticks, not much in all of these, but 84 hertz frequency. And Alberta, Canada started off at 45 hertz frequency at midnight and went up to 51 hertz frequency by 5 a.m. Oh, wait a minute. I just noticed something, guys. I said Hofuf was at 49, right? Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, but I'm going to tell you when they were 0, because remember they went down to 0 and we're like, I was expecting weeks of 0 again. On February 12th at 10 o'clock in the morning, they were at 0. And by 11 o'clock, they were already up to 2. So today they were at 49 and went all the way up to 66. And that's in Hofuf, Saudi Arabia. So they did go up. They're kind of starting to wave out again instead of just, lounging around the bottom. of the scale. So that's, I don't know, it's like, wow, I forgot to notice that. See, the weird confusion. All right. So, all right. Northland, New Zealand started off at midnight at 9. That's it, 9 hertz frequency. And by 5 a.m., they were down to 0. And lately, it just seems like someone's got a 0 out by 5 a.m. It just seems to be the case. Like, it's like surfing, you're going to hit the bottom eventually. I don't know. It's very weird. So, and then the last one is Hulului, South Africa. They started off at 153 hertz frequency at midnight. By 5 a.m., they were up to 166. And that's the second time we've seen 66. We saw that in Saudi Arabia. And then in Hulului, South Africa, we saw 166. So 66 and 166. I don't know what that means, but if that means something to you guys, 6s usually mean that you're focused too much on money, but it's like, how can the Schumann Resonance talk to us like that? I don't know. But maybe if that number comes up for you in other ways and capacities, check out the Angel Numbers app. That is pink. That's the one I recommend. Although there's several, you could play around, see which one matches what's going on with you the most. I thought that was weird. All right, guys. In A Course in Miracles, you may find these lessons for free through the Foundation for Inner Peace at acim.org, or you can download an app in A Course in Miracles, or again, ACIM, and they're all free, and they're wonderful in many different colors, so pick the one you like. Lesson 233 is where we're at. I give my life to God to guide today. I give my life to God to guide today. Father, I give you all my thoughts today. I would have none of mine. In place of them, give me your own. I give you all my acts as well, that I may do your will instead of seeking goals which cannot be obtained and wasting time in vain imaginings. Today I come to you. I will step back and merely follow you. Be you the guide, and I the follower, who questions not the wisdom of the infinite, nor love whose tenderness I cannot comprehend, but which is yet your perfect gift to me. Today we have one guide to lead us on, and as we walk together, we will give this day to him with no reserve at all. This is his day. And so it is a day of countless gifts and mercies unto us. The main thought again for today is, I give my life to God to guide today. So again, that's lesson 233 if you want to go back and read it in A Course in Miracles. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and when I come back, we're going to talk about some really strange things. I've been wanting to do this show for a while. I tried to get Rodger to come on the show, and he had it in his mind that you guys were going to be calling in. It's going to be a caller-in show. And then he had it in his mind that you guys would be all flat earthers, and he didn't want to deal with that. and I love this guy. He's really cool, but he's kind of a little bit of a gruff person, gruff around the edges, but I just feel like, when you're trying to say something to somebody and they don't understand you, and I know all of you understand this, when you're trying to explain to your mother or your neighbor what's going on with the ascension of all humanity that's currently going on right now under their noses, and they're not awake and they don't believe it and they think you're crazy. And they're like, oh, honey, you just need vitamin C or whatever. And you're just like, no, oh my God, listen. And eventually you become gruff around the edges, maybe, right? It's possible. And you just don't want to talk to anyone anymore about it. You end up being a little bit more of a loner than ever, more than ever, because They just won't listen. They're asleep. They won't wake up. And you feel so alone. And that's why you turn to the show. And I tell you guys my frustration. And you guys go, yes, me too. And in that me too, we find our common ground and our sanity as well. So, but he discovered this thing, and it's something he had long suspected, and we're going to go over it, but we're going to talk about mud fossils today. If you know what it is, you're going to be like jumping up and down right now going, oh my God, this is the coolest topic ever. And if you've never heard of what the hell is a mud fossil, I mean, seriously, pause this right now. Go make your popcorn. Go get your healthy, your tea or your healthy hot chocolate. You know, put an extra dollop of coconut oil in it because your brain is going to need the medium chain triglycerides to process this. This one might just blow your mind. And I hope I could do this subject justice. It's huge. It's huge. And we're going to go over why it's huge and why this isn't just a theory of a raving lunatic, okay? This guy is all about the scientific method, and yet what he is saying is the stuff of fantasies, myths, and legends, fairy tales, and Bible stories. And what he discovered, well, it's going to amaze you. And in advance, I apologize for you going immediately after this show to binge watch Mudfossil University. Don't expect to get a lot of sleep in the next week or two. If this grabs a hold of your mind like it did me and just won't let go, like a dog with his favorite bone, that's what it did to me. I could not stop. I was obsessed for the first month or two. Like, this topic is crazy. It's crazy because the idea of it is all around us. And then you're just going to have to wait until after the break, and we're going to go into it. And you're never going to be the same again. You're never going to look at the earth the same again when on the other end of this one. So hopefully I will do it justice, and we'll see. But I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about mud fossils right after this message. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Petrifaction according to wikipedia.org, or petrification, is defined as turning people into stone. It's a common theme in folklore and mythology, as well as some works of modern literature. According to Wikipedia, it's just all a story. Well, we're going to talk about, first, we're going to talk about some of the stories. I'm going to read this from wikipedia.org. Petrification is associated with the legends of Medusa, the basilisk, the Svartifar, and the cockatrice, among others. In fairy tales, characters who fail in a quest may be turned into stone until they are rescued by the successful hero, as in the tales of the giant who had no heart in his body, the water of life, and the dancing water, the singing apple, and the speaking bird, as well as many troll tales. Troll tales, I don't know anything about that. In Cornish folklore, petrification or petrifaction stories are used to explain the origin of prehistoric megalithic monuments such as monoliths and stone circles. The Merry Maidens stone circle, the 9 maidens of Boskenad, and Tregesial dancing stones, and the hurlers. And then it says that, and then it says the supposedly petrified Cardiff giant was one of the most famous hoaxes in United States history. So they're putting all of this, and then they're talking about a hoax right after, so that you're going to go, well, it's just a hoax. It's just all BS. Keep an open mind. Don't go there yet. And yes, the Cardiff giant was, I looked into that, and that's definitely a hoax. Greek mythology. Medusa was a gorgon, which was a monster with living venomous snakes in place of hair. Gazers upon her face would turn to stone. In Homer's Odyssey, it is recounted that the god Poseidon turned a ship of the Phaeacians into stone in punishment for their having helped his foe Odysseus. And the quote is, "With one blow from the flat of his hand, he turned her, the ship, into stone and rooted her to the sea bottom." In classical times, the small island of Ponticonisi off Corcyra or Corfu was identified as this petrified ship. According to some authors, Heracles, when fighting the Nemean lion, was helped in his labor by an earth-born serpent, which followed him to Thebes and settled down in Aulis. It was later identified as the water snake, which devoured the sparrows and was turned into stone in the prophecy about the Trojan War. Iodame was the daughter of Etonus and granddaughter of Amphictyon. Sorry, never heard that word before. That name, Amphictyon, maybe? Amphictyon. I can't even say it confidently, sorry. She was a priestess at the temple of Athena, Itonia, built by her father. At one night, Athena appeared right in front of her at the sight of Medusa's head, which was worked in the goddess's garment. Iodame turned into stone. Since then, a priestess lit the fire on the altar every day, repeating thrice, "Iodame lives and demands fire." Wow. Letheia is a mythological character briefly mentioned in Ovid's Metamorphoses. Due to her vanity, she was turned into stone at Ida by the gods. Her lover, Olenus, wished to share in the blame and so shared her fate. Battus was a figure in Greek mythology who witnessed Hermes stealing Apollo's cattle. He agreed to keep the affair secret, but when Hermes returned in disguise to test him, he broke his word and was punished by being turned into stone. Now you think, wow, the Greeks, they like their statues. So, okay, sure, they're going to talk about that, but wait, in medieval Europe, there's more. In the Catholic hagiography of Santa Barbara, or Saint Barbara, it is recounted that when the saint was pursued by her sword-wielding father, Dioscorus, after he learned of his daughter's acceptance of the new faith, her location was given away by a shepherd. The shepherd was punished for this deed by being turned into stone, while his flock were turned into locusts. A famous artistic depiction of the shepherd's petrifaction is included in the altarpiece of St. Barbara, a painting by Gonçal Paris, conserved at the National Art Museum of Catalonia. At the village of Klobuki in the Czech Republic, there is an alleged prehistoric menhir with height of 3.3 meters or 11 feet, the tallest in the Czech Republic. It is an upright, lonely standing stone called Gemelli Pastir, or shepherd turned into stone, or Kameni Muz, which means stone man. In another Czech village, Druzek, there's a sandstone Marian column from 1674 and a man-sized stone called Kamenelek. Not pronouncing this at all correctly. If you're Czechoslovakian, please forgive me. Anyway, that means man turned into stone, surrounded with legends of a punished perjurer or blasphemer. At the village of Nowa Slupia in Poland, there is the so-called stone pilgrim, or the Kamieni Pilgrimsm, I guess it means pilgrims, a stone figure of a kneeling man located near the main entrance to the national park. According to a legend, the figure once was a vain knight who went on a pilgrimage to the abbey. Upon hearing the sound of the bells, he stated that they toiled in his honor, for which he was punished and turned into stone. The figure moves towards the summit at a pace of 1 grain of sand per year, and it will reach the top at the end of the world. The Lincoln Imp is a grotesque on a wall inside Lincoln Cathedral, England, and it has become the symbol of the city of Lincoln. A legend tells of it being a creature sent to the cathedral by Satan, only to be turned into stone by an angel. The Christian saint Hilda, who lived in 614 to 680, was credited with having miraculously turned snakes into, you guessed it, stone. The ammonite fossils found in large numbers at Sandsend Ness were considered as such. The coat of arms of nearby Whitby actually include 3 such snake stones. The Merry Maidens, a late Neolithic stone circle, located 2 miles or 3 kilometers to the south of the village of St. Burion in Cornwall, the United Kingdom, are considered by local myth to be 19 maidens who were turned into stone as punishment for dancing on a Sunday. Dans Main translates as stone dance. The pipers 2 megaliths some distance northeast of the circle are said to be the petrified remains of the musicians who played for the dancers. A more detailed story explains why the pipers are so far from the maidens. Apparently, the 2 pipers heard the church clock in St. Burion strike midnight, realized they were breaking the Sabbath, and they started to run up the hill away from the maidens, who carried on dancing without accompaniment. Such petrification legends are often associated with stone circles, as is reflected in the folk names of some of the nearby sites. For example, the Tregesiel dancing stones, the 9 maidens of Boskednon, as well as the more distant hurlers and pipers on Bodmin Moor. An Icelandic legend about the island of Drangi says that 2 night-prowling giants, a man and a woman, were traversing the fjord with their cow when they were surprised by the bright rays of daybreak. As a result of exposure to daylight, all 3 were turned into stone. Drangi represents the cow, and Curling, supposedly the female giant, the name means old hag, is to the south of it. Carl, the male giant, was to the north of the island, but he disappeared long ago. The Hittardalur Valley in Iceland is supposedly named after the ogre Hit, who, as the legend has it, was traveling there along with half-human turned ogre Bawur Snafelsus. I don't know. Snafelsus, maybe? I don't know. Sorry, guys. I don't speak Icelandic. I don't know what the language is there. Sorry. The pair were late returning to their lair in the mountains and failed to reach it before the first rays of daylight, and consequently turned into stone, a pair of very specific rock formations still found to be in their place close to the farmhouses on the estate. The mountain of Ontria, looming over the area of Sotili in present-day Greece, is known for its forests, fresh water springs, and old legends about girls who turned into stone. The local legend about Mitchell's Fold, a Bronze Age stone circle in Shropshire, England, tells of a giant whose marvelous cow gave unlimited amounts of milk, used the circle until a malicious witch milked the cow, using a sieve until it was drained dry, as a result of which it fled to Warwickshire, where it became the dun cow. As a punishment, the witch was turned into stone and surrounded by other stones to prevent her escaping. And what became of the giant is unknown. A legend told at Karnak states that the Karnak stones were once pagan soldiers who were turned into stone by Pope Cornelius, the Bishop of Rome, in the years 251 to 253, who was fleeing from them. Not written very well, sorry about that. So the pagan soldiers were fleeing. The historical Pope Cornelius eventually was martyred on that occasion, not making use of his supposed magic power. Asia. The Trung sisters are Vietnamese national heroines who led a rebellion against Chinese rule. According to one legendary account, when finally overwhelmed by Han China's armies, the sisters threw themselves into the Hatjian River in order to avoid capture. They then turned into statues. These were eventually washed ashore and placed in Hanoi's Hai Ba Trung temple for worship. Otomo no Satenhiko was a Japanese general who twice led forces against the Korean kingdom of Goguryeo, first in 537 CE, but some sources claim 536, and later in 562. A legend regarding his first campaign tells of how his wife, Matsura Sayohime, climbed to the hills above Hizen and prayed with such intensity for his safe return that she was turned into stone. Singhasan Batisi is a collection of Indian folk tales. The title literally means 32 Tales of the Throne. In the frame story, the 11th century King Bhoja discovers the throne of the legendary ancient king Vikramaditya, also known as Bikramajit. The throne has 32, there's a sacred number, 32 paths of wisdom. The throne has 32 statues who are actually apsaras that had been turned into stone due to a curse. Each of the apsaras tells Bhoja a story about the life and adventures of Vikramaditya in order to convince him that he was not deserving of Vikramaditya's throne. The legend connected to the Ermita de San Nicolas de Tolentino in the Philippines relates that the Pasig River was inhabited by ferocious caiman, crocodiles, which traversed the length of the river to and from the Laguna de Bay. A Chinese merchant who refused to be converted to the Christian faith while passing in front of the monastery of Guadalupe was almost caught by the devil, disguised as a caiman, to devour and bring to hell. Yet, despite his being pagan, called to the saint, venerated in the monastery, calling loudly, San Nicolaisi, San Nicolaisi, and in uttering this prayer, the crocodile marvelously turned into stone and left the merchant safely. Due to this miracle, the Chinese merchant converted to the Christian faith and in thanksgiving erected an ermita near the petrified caiman. See, I'm sure we could go on a trip and look at these things and even touch them and see them in real life. You think it stops there? We'll think again. Here we go. America. Here we go. Hunzahua was the first Zake, ruler of the northern Muisca in present-day Colombia. He was said to have fallen in love with his sister Noncheta and made her his wife. His mother, Faravita, disagreed with the marriage of her two children, claro que obvio, of course, obviously, and attacked the couple, spilling a bowl of chicha. I don't know in Colombia, but chicha in Peru is like chicha morada, and it's a very amazing drink. It's purple, and it's made from corn, and it's sweet and spicy. So I don't know if that's what it is in Colombia. I don't remember having chicha there. But anyway, she had a bowl of it, so it might be kind of a soup. So she spilled a bowl of chicha. This created the Hunzahua well. When Hunzahua saw what his mother had done and the Muisca protesting against his incest, he damned Hunza and the surrounding valley. Noncheta gave birth to a son in Susa, but the young boy turned into a rock. The sad couple traveled further to the Tenkendama Falls. Here they changed into two rocks at either side of the sacred waterfall. Standing Indian Mountain in North Carolina, known in the Cherokee as Yunwitsui Nunyi, which translates to where the man stood, is, according to Cherokee mythology, home to the remains of a Cherokee warrior. The warrior had been sent to the mountaintop to keep a lookout for a winged monster. The monster, whose lair was located on Standing Mountain, would swoop in from the skies and steal children. Upon discovering the location of the monster's lair, the Cherokee prayed to the Great Spirit for assistance. The prayers were answered when the Great Spirit destroyed the monster and its lair with thunder and lightning. The lightning frightened the warrior, and the warrior tried to abandon his post. Because the warrior abandoned his post, he was turned into stone for his cowardice. Fort Victoria in British Columbia was erected in 1843 on a site originally called Camosun, a variant of the Lekwungen word Camosung. There's two S's, so hence the Camosung. The name of a girl turned into stone by the spirit being Hales the Transformer, who let's see. So Hales the Transformer to watch over the resources in what is now known as Gorge Waterway. So basically, there was a site called Camosun, and it's named after the girl who was turned into stone, so that she can watch over the waterway. Great. A legend about the origin of the name Cap-Chat, Quebec in Canada, relates to a cat. Chat, of course, is cat in French. Who walked along the shore, killed and ate various animals, whereupon the cat fairy accused him of having eaten her offspring. For his punishment, the cat was then turned into a stone forever. The term Apache Tears comes from a legend of the Apache tribe. About 75 Apache men and the U.S. cavalry fought on a mountain overlooking what is now Superior, Arizona, in the 1870s. Facing defeat, the outnumbered Apache warriors rode their horses off the mountain to their deaths rather than to be killed by the cavalry. The wives and families of the warriors cried when they heard of the tragedy. Their tears turned into stone upon hitting the ground. Oceania. In Maori tradition, Aratreyu, oh my god, I'm not saying this right. Araturu is the canoe which brought the ancestors of the Nagai Tahu people of the South Island. The fishing net and the water gourd, or the calabash, of Araturu were turned into stone at Moraki in the South Island, where they can still be seen. Now, this article goes on to talk about all the things in modern fiction. I'm only going to mention one. You could look at the rest of this if you want. You know, and obviously some of the Oz stories, Harry Potter, the Snow Queen, Percy Jackson. There's a lot of different stories in modern fiction that these kind of stories exist. But gargoyles, remember the animated series Gargoyles? The gargoyles are demon-looking warriors at night, and the sun rises, they turn into stone until the sunset comes again, and then they can fly around, and they look like they're sleeping stones during the day. They won't be shattered by enemies because they just look like they're gargoyles. And I loved that show. It took place in New York City, and you could go all over, the northeast part of the U.S. and There's gargoyles everywhere. So that always sparked my imagination, right? So, you guys, it's so intense and so deep. I mean, you see all around the world are there stories of petrifaction in myths and fiction. And I love how they separate fiction from myths. Is it true that myths are made up? Is it true that myths are real? What are we to believe? What about Lot's wife in the Bible? Is that mere fiction? Is it a story? Is it real, or is it a myth? Lot and his 2 daughters and his wife were in a town filled with debauchery, and all kinds of horrible things were going on in the town of Sodom and Gomorrah, and God was going to turn the whole place into stone. Just, that's it, get rid of it. It's just too evil. It's just, people are robbing each other and, raping each other and all kinds of horrible things. So, he sent I believe it was Archangel Gabriel to go and see if he could find one good person there. And he found Lot and his wife and his 2 daughters, and he said, you guys have to leave. You're the only good ones here, and I'm going to allow you to escape, but don't turn back. Don't turn back. And I think in the story, he blew his trumpet, so it's sound involved, and the whole town basically turned to stone. Lot's wife turned and looked back behind her when that happened, and she turned into a pillar of salt. My friend from Saudi Arabia said he's been there. He's seen it. He saw Sodom and Gomorrah. You could go still see it. It's still there. And he believes it. Gave him the freakiest feeling, he said. He said it felt so weird and scared him. And this is like one of my friends who's like really like never scared of anything. And he was really scared that night. He's like, you know what? He's like the power of Allah. He's Muslim, so he's like, Allah just means God in Arabic. He's like, Alina, the power of Allah is so powerful that I will never doubt the power ever again. He says, I believe the story from the Bible because I've seen it with my own eyes. I felt it. I felt that it was a real thing. And I saw Lot. What used to be Lot. It was like just a standing thing of salt, and there's no salt anywhere else. It didn't make any sense. There's no science backing it, right? So what are all these things? And I've spent 30 minutes on this, but I wanted you to see how deep these stories go, how far and widespread these stories are. So there's a book by Rodger Spurr, who I've been trying to get him on the show for a while. We start talking and he hasn't said yes, and I still might have him on. And Rodger, if you're listening, if you hear this, I do want to have you on the show. There's a lot more you can add to this, what I'm going to say tonight. I'm laying the basis for it right now. We're going to have to come back, and revisit this again. So he wrote a book called Mudfossils and Velikovsky and Minds in Collision. It's 99 cents. It's a Kindle. It's a download. It's quick read. It's 90 pages. So if you want to read this book, go. I haven't read it yet. I just found out about it today. Definitely want to read it though. So he says the discovery of mud fossils a few years ago led me on a journey that can only be described as wild and crazy. The evidence uncovered is discussed and many links to videos that prove the claims made. Hundreds of samples were eventually completely scrutinized and many scientifically tested in a variety of ways. DNA tests were positive. for human mitochondrial DNA. 3 tests and contamination was ruled out. All negative control tests were in fact negative for contamination. 7 CAT scans showed exquisite vascular and bone details in DNA-proven specimens. One 50-foot tall giant's fingertip and another DNA-verified fingertip was from a human giant over 200 feet tall. In addition, there was lots of chemistry and lab work. I also recreated the chemical process of mud fossilization. I am being ignored when not attacked because reality is still not a concern in academia, and for at least 60 years has been the practice as done with Velikovsky's research. The mud fossil specimens I present are physical support for Immanuel Velikovsky's historical masterpiece of 1950. Velikovsky read, studied, and listened. The stories were the same all over the globe. You guys just heard him, right? That's only the beginning, right? About the same events on the same dates, observed by many, recorded by eyewitnesses at the time. We dismiss these recorded historical documents as silly, scary stories, but not at all rooted in reality. Scary stories, yes. Silly, no. Reality, absolutely. Velikovsky was literally attacked, and that will stop right now. The academic bullies and the book burners are about to be exposed in these pages. Now the fun begins. Oh, I wish he were here now. That's what Rodger wrote in his description of this book. You go to Amazon.com and look at this up. Mudfossils and Velikovsky and Minds in Collision. So, when you go to researchgate.net, this is a place that apparently nerds hang out, and I love it. I just discovered it today. And Rodger Spurr, he's on these pages, and he found, okay, have you ever seen the Colossus? Go on YouTube, and you could go to Mudfossil University, is his YouTube channel. He also has a Mudfossil University page on Facebook. You can go also and just do a random search on YouTube and look up this. These hills were once alive, or these mountains were once alive. At first you're going to go, oh, that's cool. That mountain looks like a turtle. Oh, that's neat. It looks a little bit like a lion or a dolphin or a cat. It's enormous. Oh, funny. Funny that. Look at that. Makes me rethink Eagle Rock, California. It looks like an eagle. It's like, that's interesting, right? Some rocks look like something else. Okay, fine, whatever, that's cool. But when it's over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you start noticing there's hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of this all over the planet. And this isn't that 20 people touched a rock and Rodger got a sample from the top of the rock. Oh, no. He dug deep and looked into these giant quote-unquote statues. Wow, they were so good back then that they could carve statues. The artists were so good back then. No, some of these are actual giants. They're actual giants that were turned into actual mud fossils and or just turned to stone. Why? How? Was it the trumpet of Gabriel? Was it plasma coming in from some celestial body? Was it the fairies? Was it magic? We don't really know why or how. We just know that now that this is real and this is true and this is happening. Mud fossils are real living beings who, for whatever reason, are preserved forever in stone. seriously, you start looking this stuff up, it is going to blow your mind. I've seen pictures of caves that look like vaginas. You're walking into a giant's vagina, yo. There are penises too. There's like everything that looks so obvious. It's so obvious. And you follow it and you'll see, wait, there's a giant's head. There's a giant's breasts. On the other end of where the giant cave, the vagina is. You keep looking, you're going to see bits and pieces, probably also of her feet, her toes. There's so many, and it's so common, and it's all over the whole planet. Rodger Spurr says that if you go out and you know what you're looking for, you're going to find a mud fossil this weekend. Take a camping trip, and you're going to find giants everywhere. You know, when I first started to see faces and things and stones, I was like, oh, that's weird. That's weird. And some of them are carvings and some of them are real. And when I went to Sedona, I saw on the mountains like a dozen men standing in a row, and they were enormous and they were rocks. And I was freaked out. And I said to the Navajo woman, I said, so, who are these people? These giants I'm looking at. And she's like, what? White people can't see that. I'm like, well, I can. Maybe because I'm Cherokee. I've got the vision to see this stuff. And she said, you're very spiritual. I'm like, yeah. She says, well, those are our ancestors. I'm like, but your ancestors were giants? She said, that's what they say. And I felt that there was an energy and a presence with these standing stones that looked just like people standing there. They were so big and they were impossible to get to. There was no way that someone went all the way up and climbed up, and carved like, 12 or so statues. It was like crazy. It was everywhere I looked. I saw these things. So a lot of times, though, these mud fossils get created when they're covered in mud, and then the mud eventually turns into dirt and dust and blows away, and then it's revealed. But I'm going to tell you what Rodger has to say. There's 9 steps. Okay, he says, this is a long story, but very interesting. Silicon, iron, and fascia is the preservative in mud fossils. Here is the wet mud fossil process. Number 1, wet soils create natural electric currents. Number 2, molecular silicates are tiny, platy, and polar, some 2 atoms in size. 3, creatures buried in mudslides can be sealed anaerobically in cold, deep, platy, polar silicates, mud, and clay, influenced by these wet natural electric earth currents. Number 4, silicon is 50 times higher in skin and connective tissue than other flesh. Silicon is not found by itself. It is almost always silicon dioxide and silicon, oxalate. SiO2 and SiO4, if I can remember enough from chemistry class, which I failed miserably. I think 4 oxygens, is oxalate. I'm not sure, though. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. Anyway, but that's how silicon is always found. It's never by itself. It's always silicon dioxide, silicon oxalate, which is sand, amorphous quartz, and feldspar. Number 5, natural electroplating of the creature occurs as silicon in the skin bonds and becomes silicon dioxide and silicon oxalate, amorphous quartz, and feldspars. This occurs on the surface, but the insides remain preserved under extreme pressures due to deep mud on top. Now, number 6, leachates from above percolate and interact with the buried creature's exterior surfaces. Chemicals in leachates determine fossil properties. An example is opal, which is a mineralized fossil. I did not know that. I love opal. It's my son's birthstone. 7. Normal oxygenated decomposing bodies literally explode from the gases as they expand. Sometimes skin is degloved and fluids are expelled from weak areas and orifices, but very little is expelled in mud fossils due to compaction. Number 8. As plating continues, the surface becomes more and more restricted until, what's OH? Oxygen, hydrogen, what is that? I forgot what the chemical compound is called. It's oxygen and hydrogen, one of each. And then there's a negative after the hydrogen. Anyway, when this becomes a primary invader, OH is extremely reactive and destroys calcium and phosphorus in the bones. That is why bone is hard to recognize in mud fossils. Number 9. Eventually, glacial tilling disassembles the creature along fascial planes and body parts appear. Okay, so I thought that was very interesting. I was like, wow. If you look on his website or his YouTube channel, you are going to be blown away. But he's using everything is about the scientific method. Now, let's see. I'm going to tell you. He did say, I'm trying to see, where did I find this? This is weird, though. There was gold located in Devil's Tower. Now, he was saying that as this happens to the giants' bodies, the kidneys is where salts and gold start to form. And a lot of times, and think about it, what does your kidneys do but filter out salt from your body? And imagine over millions of years after you're fossilized for a very, very long time, where do you think we get Himalayan pink crystal salt, guys? Ew, right? I mean, it's healthy. It's got all the salts we need for life, but it was taken from a fossilized kidney of a giant's body. If you listen to him, he's going to tell you where to find gold. If you see a giant's body and you start mapping it out all the way across the horizon, you're going to be like, oh, about there's where I'm going to find the gold. Road trip. Let's go. Now, let's see. I found earlier where, I think it was Harvard University. I'm going to see, where did he actually send the, he took these samples, okay, and he did not tell them exactly what was going on. He didn't want anyone to just say, oh, this is BS, it's not true. He just wanted to say, I want to know about if there's DNA. Can you find like mitochondrial DNA or whatever? So, all right, here we go. Here it is. Max Planck University. MFU. What is MFU? Oh, Mudfossil University, sorry. Mudfossil University sent our mud fossil research to Max Planck University about a year ago when I got news of their Neanderthal site and attempts to validate their discovery. I mentioned the DNA is in fossils, which are now mud. They tested the mud for DNA and MFU claims were found to be valid. Now, as reported, Max Planck, along with Harvard, have recreated Mudfossil University's DNA extraction technique. These respected universities validated mud fossils and they certified mud fossil DNA authenticity. He says, here's the announcement. Please pass this around and share it because it's not well known yet. That was November 6, 2017 when he made that announcement. He says, did Gorgons really turn onlookers to stone? I mean, he's got pictures on here and you're just like, what? And he says, when you look through his videos and you listen to what he has to say, He says, if this was a piece of art, why would the blood be running out of the mouths and the eyes and out of, like, the tendons and the knees? And the way that it's created, when you start to realize, and it's kind of gross, but he puts a lot of different disciplines in one, and I'm sure he's an INTJ. He must be, because he could take things from several different disciplines and put it into one thing and see the full picture. And he's looking at these things and he's like, wait a minute. If this is just a statue that someone made, why would it appear that blood had been running down from parts of the body that, if this had been a real body, the blood would have ran from the body? If they had been turned to stone, that's the path that the blood would have been taking. And why are there tendons and bones, like, as the statue wears off in places? And why is it found that what's in blood but iron oxide? And why is there iron oxide on the places where the blood would have run out of a statue someone created? It doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense that these are real beings that they were maybe terrified of and found a way to turn them into stone, maybe. We don't really know. It's very, very weird. So now look at Ovid. He wrote in Metamorphosis. We mentioned this earlier. It's recorded and documented, and we think it's myth. It's not myth at all. Rodger Spurr said on November 7th, 2017, he just takes a paragraph from this book, and it says, they all deserved the punishment they suffered, except one of Perseus's warriors. While he was fighting on his side, Aconteus saw the Gorgon's head and took the shape of hardened stone. Astyages struck him with his long sword, thinking he was still alive, and the blade gave a high-pitched, ringing noise. While Astyages stood there amazed, the same power transformed him, and he remained there with a wondering look on his marble face. It would take a long time to tell the names of the middle ranks of men. 200 bodies survived the fight. 200 bodies were turned to stone at sight of the Gorgon's head. And does that not remind you of the statues of the Chinese warriors that were buried with the emperor when he died? Do you really think that like 1,000 statues or whatever were made? Maybe they were. I believe that they were tested and they had DNA in them as well. I could be wrong. It's a long time ago since I heard that. And I think that Mudfossil University was sent a sample of that. Crazy. It's just crazy. He says, time for academia to examine mud fossils, completely validated in every scientific way, including DNA, CAT scans, anatomy, chemistry, and more. Examination, not acceptance until proven. If it is but to ignore, is very wrong and harmful to students that trust and pay dearly for truth. And he says, I must apologize to academia. Mud fossils are 100% confirmed by Max Planck University and Harvard universities, by the way. So, crazy. It's crazy. And people have been treating him like hostilely. So he's become a little bit of a curmudgeon. He's a little bit afraid. He didn't want to come on the show thinking there might be callers and that you guys might be like flat earthers or something. And he's like, I don't want any of that. I'm like, my people are very open-minded. My people are open-minded. So I want you guys to hear this. It's crazy stuff, right? It's crazy stuff. He has a picture of what he believes is a giant woman. I don't know if he tested this one, but Ruby Falls in Chattanooga, Tennessee, part of the Lookout Mountain area. He says it looks like a giant woman. And he says if you go on this tour there, you'll see many mud fossils, formations, and chemistry. So there's like, if you look at his Mud Fossil University Facebook page, he says that there's smoking gun footage. At 15:30, you'll see an ammo dump on fire smoking, tendon on a rope. And Ruby Falls is named for the discoverer's wife. But he's like, look at this picture. It's a vagina. And he says he became 100% certain, haha, at 42:20 in the video. I haven't seen this video. It's like, there are some definitely, I mean, if you look at the structures of what a human looks like, and you look at the structures of what these massive things look like, it's obvious. I mean, there's tendons, and there's one site he had that looked like, he said, what do you think this is? And you look at it and you're like, that's weird. This is a weird rock formation. And he starts going through it one by one. He goes, here's a picture of a layer of cells in human skin. And here's what we're looking at. It's giant human skin. And these massive blocks on top of each other, exactly as the way a cell in our skin would be. It blew my mind. And it's not just humans, giant humans that he found. There are animals. And he proves that there's a 1,000-foot dragon along the coast of Morocco. And those videos are very, very interesting too, because he shows the feathers, the scales, where the blood would pour out from a being that was just fossilized, like turned to stone, or over time where it would leak out. And he goes on to show there's even in England, there's a town that's built on top of a giant's body. And when someone put a drone up, I don't know if anyone noticed this or not, but you could see it just as like a shape of a man. The whole town is in the shape of a man, and all around it is natural forested areas. It's really freaking weird. A lot of people, because of the rich mineral deposits, will settle on top of giants' bodies and not realize it. I don't know, you guys. I had to bring this up. I had to do a show on this because it really blows my mind. So columnar basalt is what it looks like skin. It's weird. And even like Giant's Causeway, that might be skin. Might literally be skin of a giant. Anyway, I love the Mud Fossil University. He's always been kind of told that he's just not really real, even though he's had this proven. He gets upset a little bit on his videos, but his stuff is real. I mean, he is a bona fide scientist. Anyway, I'm gonna end this, but I'm gonna read a little bit here what he wrote. It's like a poem that he let's see if there's, it's like more and more. Okay. Oh goodness. Okay, here we go. Giants I found as the ground I tilled. Soon I discovered the whole of the earth with these bodies was filled. Confused, I sought guidance, and to the ancient texts I turned. I was stunned and disturbed about what I learned. These things I was finding and seeing and studying and more had been seen, understood, and written about before. How could this be? It was a total surprise. How could scholars be this wrong, or was it simply lies? Again, I turned to see what was in the texts and what was said. Again, the effect was like a blow to my head. What was written was such a shock. It was like a lost key for an eternal lock. I can only repeat the things righteous men said. I am sorry for those deniers of God, the walking dead. Peter 2:2-4-3, in their greed, these false teachers will exploit you with the tales they have concocted. The long-standing verdict against them remains in force, and their destruction does not sleep. For if God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell, delivering them in chains, and to be held in gloomy darkness until their judgment. As the time of the giants and watchers in darkness is done, it's time we are all judged when nowhere to run. I could be a fool and a clown and a buffoon. It matters little to me, and I will find out soon. If I'm a fool, I don't think stones at me you should lob. I am not well liked and am considered a fool, but it is my job. Then he writes 1 Corinthians 27. Brothers, consider the time of your calling. Not many of you were wise by human standards, not many were powerful, not many were of noble birth, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He chose the lowly and despised things of the world and the things that are not to nullify the things that are. So to sum up the position of my mud fossil claims, we will all find our destination when they read our names. I would consider this video with sobriety if you have any understanding of the meaning of eternity. Oh, would you look at that? He wrote that or posted that on my son's birthday, October 18th, 2017. So I don't know. That's just I can't really do anything more. I can't really tell you any more about it right now. Maybe he'll come on the show. Maybe he'll maybe I could spur him on. Rodger Spurr, I want you on the show. Please reconsider, come back. Get on the show, please. Yeah. Anyway, you guys, I don't know. I hope I blew your mind with this information. It's not my information again. It's his scientific research and discovery. But Machu Picchu is a giant's head. I mean, it's all over the world. Once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. You can't deny it. You look at his science, you cannot deny it. It's real. There are more things on heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. So said Hamlet. So said Shakespeare in Hamlet. Hamlet to his best friend Horatio, who was a doubter of things, a skeptic. It is what it is, guys. I don't know. I just could not talk about this anymore. I had to tell you. So, sorry if you don't get sleep for the next few months. It's going to be because you're going to be watching so many videos on Mudfossil University YouTube channel. I don't know if I should say I'm sorry or you're welcome. In case you never thought this world could surprise you anymore, maybe I just blew your mind and surprised you now. I wanted to thank you guys for your loyalty and your support, and thank you for sharing my videos with other people, liking, subscribing, favoriting, and the like. Thank you so much for telling your Facebook groups about me. I could see the numbers going up little by little, so let's get the word out. All of humanity, we are in the middle of ascension, guys. We're moving into the fifth dimension. The science is backing it up through the Schumann Resonance, the plasma, all of the stuff coming. The psychics tell you it's happening, and then you go to NASA's website, and they say, oh my God, look at all the plasma came. Well, the psychics told you it was coming a week ago. I mean, everything is coming together, science and spirituality. And the truth is coming out. But that's it. That's all I got to say about that tonight. I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the Holy 50. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.